They did it. They actually did it. I really didn't think NASCAR would do it, but they did it. I was fully prepared to pull out this hat today. I guess I did pull it out, but now we don't have to use it today. Austin Dillon, who won at Richmond on Sunday in controversial fashion, he gets to keep the win. He gets to keep the trophy. He gets to keep the winnings. But the most important thing when it comes to the Owners' Championship, winning the money, when it comes to fighting for a Drivers' Championship, is making the playoffs with a win. That has been stripped from Austin Dillon and the number 3 team due to the tactics that were used at the end of the race. In case you missed it, here's a replay. Get yourself a good look at it. Austin Dillon, who actually drove up through the field, ran in the top 5 all day, lost the last restart to Joey Logano, and when the opportunity came, which he forced upon, he decided to take out Joey Logano and then later on intentionally wrecked Denny Hamlin into the wall. As a result, Dillon went on, crossed the line first, and won the race. Very controversial, no call made at the time. The 3 was declared the winner. A lot of angry emotions from Joey Logano, which we'll get to later, by the way. Denny Hamlin was saying, I'm frustrated, but it's how the game's played. And we had to wait till, what is it over here in the Central Time Zone? 3 o'clock Wednesday in the Central Time Zone for this penalty. This penalty has never been assessed from what I know. This playoff format has been in existence since 2014. The only time I can remember someone being removed from the Cup Series playoffs in the elimination era is when Joey Logano, ironically at Richmond, had a win encumbered, but that was due to technical inspection. That was due to nothing on the track. This is directly due to what happened on the track. So here's what NASCAR's press release says. NASCAR officials ruled Wednesday that Austin Dillon's win at Richmond Raceway would not count towards eligibility for the Cup Series playoffs. The decision arrives 3 days after the Richard Childress Racing driver bashed his way to victory by crashing Joey Logano and Denny Hamlin on the final lap of Sunday's Cookout 400. Dillon's penalty was the most severe of a handful of those issued after Sunday's race, which was decided by a chaotic last lap of overtime. After a full review of footage and data, NASCAR officials ruled Dillon's victory would stand, but that his automatic berth in the 16-driver postseason field would be voided for violating Section 12.3.2.1.b, we all know exactly what that means, of the NASCAR rulebook, which deals with playoff eligibility and states race finishes must be unencumbered by violation or violations of the NASCAR rules or other action or actions detrimental, they said the magic words, actions detrimental to stock car, auto racing, or NASCAR as determined in the sole discretion of NASCAR. So yes, that is the first part of the penalty I want to talk about. We'll move on to Austin Dillon's spotter, Joey Logano, those penalties later on. But right now I want to focus on this because I didn't think they would do this. I did not think NASCAR would have the guts to strip Austin Dillon of his playoff eligibility. We talked about this on Monday, the Monday after, on the live stream, and I said what I thought they should do. I said NASCAR has to send a message. If they don't take away his playoff eligibility, they do not send a message, because if they simply suspend Dillon for a race, if they dock him 100 points, if they, suspend the spotter, even if they just suspend Dillon, but they don't take away that playoff eligibility, that tells everyone in the NASCAR garage that you can go out and you can intentionally wreck someone to win, but as long as you're doing it to get into the playoffs, as long as you're doing it to advance in the playoffs, it's all good. It's cool. But with removing Austin Dillon from the playoffs, with taking that win away, with taking his eligibility away, that's the ultimate penalty. Because without that win, Austin Dillon's nowhere close to the playoffs. He now has to win at Michigan, Daytona, or Darlington, because they were 32nd in the points entering this race. Now, with the win, they were up to 26th, and with the 25-point penalty, then it may now be back to 29th or 30th. But ultimately, that's the biggest punishment. Jumping from 32nd to, at worst, 16th in the standings with crashing 2 guys simply, that's not a punishment if you just suspend Dillon for a race, if you just dock him some points. That's not a punishment. Denny Hamlin on his podcast said that's a multi-million-dollar move that they made, And now that you actually punish, you say you can't do that. You put a hard line in the sand that says you cannot intentionally wreck someone to get into the playoffs. That sets a hard line, and I applaud NASCAR for making that decision. That should not be acceptable, honestly. The Logano thing, it was dirty, and it was, he deserved to get either punched in the face, confronted, or he deserves payback later on because that was a very dirty move. But it's the Hamlin thing that makes me mad personally, is that he right-reared him. The data showed it, that the crash was intentional. There was intent in turning a hard left into Denny Hamlin, into the outside wall. And the prior punishments for that kind of wreck is a one-race suspension. But since it was the last lap, last turn, going for a victory, this is much worse. This is much more detrimental, I guess that's the right word, to Austin Dillon and the number 3 team season. That is exactly what it does. This is the perfect punishment for this situation, because without being in the playoff, or without taking away their playoff eligibility, as I said, it would have done nothing. RCR, if NASCAR came up to them and said, we're going to fine you $200,000, suspend Austin a race, and dock you 50 points, RCR would have said, cool, let's go with it. In fact, you know what? We'll give you $300,000. That's how they would have reacted. But with taking Dillon and the number 3 car out of the drivers and owners playoffs, that's the real punishment. That is ultimately the punishment that had to be handed down, and I fully agree with it. Now, if Austin Dillon were to go out and win at Michigan, Daytona, or at Darlington, he did it cleanly, he would be back in the playoffs. But the Richmond win does not count towards playoff eligibility. Once again, Austin Dillon, he keeps the trophy, he keeps the purse, but the win does not count as playoff eligible. So, Austin Dillon's still your winner, but he does not get to keep the race win. Now, moving on from that, the 3 team. There was spotter audio. In case you missed that, I'll play that for you right here.
Down, right here. Come on.
And you can hear Austin Dillon's spotter say, wreck him. Now, you could argue, what second exactly did he say that? Oh, it was after it happened. But the fact of the matter is, within a second or two of the actual incident, the spotter said, wreck him. That is some sort of race manipulation. That is some sort of ill will, ill intent that could potentially hurt someone. And whether Austin Dillon did it off of hearing a spotter, or he was already intending to do it before that or after that, it doesn't matter. The spotter came over a live radio that's being recorded that everyone has access to, and they heard him say the words, wreck him. It's not acceptable, and ultimately NASCAR decided to suspend the spotter. So also, I skipped over this, that Dillon and the number 3 team were also docked 25 points in both the drivers and owners standings. So that drops them from 26th to 31st. As I said, that 29th to 30th range, I was 1 off. And then, as I said, they got the playoff eligibility taken away. And then later on, it says NASCAR competition officials also suspended Brandon Benesch, sorry if I pronounced that wrong, the number 3 team spotter for 3 Cup Series races for his guidance of Dillon atop the grandstand roof. A review of transmissions from the number 3 team audio revealed Benesch saying, wreck him, as Dillon battled alongside Hamlin with the checkered flag in sight. So yeah, as I said, no, you can't do that. And frankly, all due respect to the spotters. The spotters are extremely important. They are a key member of the team, but ultimately, when the spotter says something like that, if they do something like that, they're going to get a harsh punishment. They're going to get suspended multiple races, whereas if a driver said, I'm going to wreck them, and then they wreck them, they're only going to get a 1 race because the drivers, anyways, you get my point there. But this is the right punishment too. You had to send some sort of message to RCR, some sort of message to the spotter that you can't come over the radio and say wreck him during the action, during the last turn when he's right there. And then ultimately Dillon does it. Like that's not acceptable. It's not acceptable. So I can't believe it. We're 2 for 2 agreeing on NASCAR calls. As the internet would say, rare NASCAR W. I think people still say that. As for Joey Logano, in case you missed that, here's the video of this. Joey Logano was pissed off because he got wrecked for the win, and rightfully so. However, how he responded was not proper. Joey Logano went on pit road, and his car was broken. It was pointing the wrong direction. Parts could have been loose. Parts could have been in the wrong place. and he starts doing burnouts. He starts gassing it up, laying rubber down on the pit road, and then he about runs over some people. And then he stops at Austin Dillon's family, Austin Dillon's pit crew, and he does a burnout. And when he parks the car, a NASCAR official's coming up, yelling at him, telling him, don't do that crap. Do not do that. That is unacceptable. I understand that you're pissed. I understand what happened on track happened. You're allowed to be mad at that, but do not take it out on pit road. NASCAR doesn't screw around with pit road, and they shouldn't. The pit road is not a place to mess around. At all times, there are people over the wall, whether it's pit crews or, in this case scenario, family members, media members, team members. And look, we could argue, why are they over the wall so quickly? Not everyone stopped on pit road. Why are so many people on the pit road? And yes, I'll listen to that argument. And frankly, there should not be that many people on the pit road. It should be enforced a little bit more strictly. But that does not excuse what Logano did. You can't mess around on pit road, straight up. There's no other way to put it. What Logano did was wrong. And because of what he did, he was fined $50,000 for his actions after the race when he spun the tires in anger near the number 3 team. That show of disgust, God, NASCAR with their language in this thing, a violation of the member code of conduct for compromising the safety of others, sent celebrants from Dillon's team scattering on pit road and drew a stern rebuke from NASCAR officials at the scene. So yeah, as I said, Joey Logano, that was unacceptable. Personally, I think the fine should have been more. It's not my place to decide, but we fined Bubba Wallace $50,000 for dooring Alex Bowman on a cool-down lap. So we're saying that almost running people over on pit road is the same as dooring someone who's inside their car at 20 miles an hour. Joey Logano had to be penalized, so good job NASCAR for penalizing him. But I personally, in my opinion, think that fine should have been a little bit steeper. That was out of line by Logano. Once again, he had every right to be pissed. Once again, why there are that many people on pit road, I don't know. But Joey Logano cannot act like that. He is a 2-time champion. He's won over 30 races in his career. He's been in the sport for 15 years now. He cannot do stupid stuff like that. Once again, he had every right to be mad, but that is quite literally the worst way to express your anger after the race. So, yes, what a penalty report. And then some quotes from Elton Sawyer, the NASCAR VP of competition. I think in all due respect to the appeal process, we looked at this and the totality of everything that happened as you entered turn 3 and as the cars got to the start-finish line. So as we looked through all of that data, we came to the conclusion that a line had been crossed. Our sport has been based going for many, many years, forever, on good hard racing. Contact has been acceptable. We feel like in this case that the line was crossed, and that is 100% correct. Bump and runs, perfectly clean. What Carl Edwards did to Kyle Busch in 2016 at this exact track, he bumped him out of the way, ran up and won. Kyle Busch stayed straight, finished second. Perfectly acceptable, perfectly clean. That's what we want to see. Now, spinning someone out for the win, that's where we start to get in the danger zone. It's controversial, it's dirty, but it's not quite worthy of a penalty. But when you are hooking a hard left, right rearing someone into the wall at full speed off the final turn, that is where we have to put that line in the sand. You cannot cross that line. That is where we draw it. So once again, here, all these penalties, man. So, Austin Dillon's penalty is this. He gets to keep the trophy. He gets to keep the money. He's having a good day monetarily. But the playoff berth, the playoff eligibility for that win is gone. He is no longer in the NASCAR Cup Series Playoffs. Same thing goes for the owner's side. So the number 3 car and Austin Dillon no longer in the 16-team playoff, but they are still eligible if they are to win one of these last 3 races in the regular season. As for the spotter of Austin Dillon's car, he's gone. 3 races. The rest of the regular season, he's out. He can return for the playoffs. Go find a backup spotter, RCR. And they were also docked 25 points on the driver and owner side, so they go from 26th to 31st in points. And as for Joey Logano, fined $50,000 for his pit road antics, tactics, whatever you want to call it. And once again, my opinion is this. The only thing I disagree with is I think Logano's fine should have been steeper. Every single thing. I've never agreed with NASCAR this much on anything. I can't believe it. This was 100% the right penalty for Austin Dillon. He crossed the line first. He's the winner. I respect that. I don't respect how he did it, but I respect that he crossed the line first. But we cannot determine a spot in a playoff system that determines our champion every year by intentionally wrecking people, intentionally right-rearing people into the wall. It's unacceptable, and NASCAR, they agree. It's unacceptable. So NASCAR, I applaud you. You made the right decisions today. People will probably say the Logano fine is fine, and that's fine. Honestly, I'm not that hurt by it. I'm shocked. I am genuinely shocked. I did not think they would take the playoff berth away. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments. What a wild, wild year we've had in NASCAR so far. The 3-wide finish at Atlanta, the photo finish at Texas and Xfinity, the photo finish at Kansas. What other wild finishes have we had? Richmond, obviously. Indianapolis got a little crazy there at the end. I mean, what a season we're having. We have controversy, drama, some great racing. 2024 is going to be one of these years we look back at like, oh my goodness, what a year we had, for good and for bad. Once again, great penalties by NASCAR. I agree with them. You may not agree with them. If you don't, let me know in the comments. I'll see you guys in the next video. Michigan this weekend should be exciting. I'm sure Austin Dillon, Richard Childress Racing, they're going to get a lot of questions. For those wondering about the updated playoff bubble, they just released that now, so get a good look at it.